Well, it's good to see that $1 billion is being invested.
Sorry, guys, dream went down for a second.
Yeah,
But it's back up.
that's where the money's gone,
Yeah, they're
right there.
taking me down, man. That's
Google
what they're
saw we
doing.
were talking
Definitely
shit
has
about
just
them, and
gone
Exactly.
they
Stuart
axed
Sauce
it. They
fucking
nixed us.
yacht.
All right, well, let's move on. I think we'll see a lot more articles on this news, but pretty cool that it happened actually while we were on air. All right, let's talk some StarCraft 2, guys. Richard's break time.
You need to get
basically.
you need to get a thing, like a little music thing, like dun 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 dun, like if breaking news happens, like while we're on. Or
Oh,
whatever,
yeah, that's a good
like,
idea.
keep it on.
I
Oh
get
yeah,
some
get a
sound
little
clips.
one of those little ticker things. Get the ticker.
Yeah.
That just
But
scrolls across the
Chris's
bottom.
production values. Come on,
Hey, fuck you,
Steven.
man. Fuck yeah. I can do
How
that.
many? We'll be like sat here for 5 minutes waiting for the music to kick in. It'll be awkward as fuck. Like,
What?
no. I've
What?
got this. I've got
That's
this.
what's fun. That's what makes it fun.
Sound of typing. Sound of typing. I've got this. No, guys, just wait. And switching over now. And
That's
then
what
you
makes
get,
it
like,
relatable. People are going to
Breaking
sit
news,
at home.
breaking
they're gonna
news,
go,
guys.
wow, this is so awkward. Then they're going to think, this is just like what happens when I talk to my friends. It's like I'm in my own living room.
All right, let's talk some StarCraft 2.
Okay.
Oh
That's sick.
my
That's
god, I've
perfect.
just seen it. Wow. That is so bad.
What's so bad?
That's almost as bad as the Fedoras or Trilbies, as we established.
Please. All right, StarCraft 2, lots of events going on this past week and weekend. We had IEM Shenzhen, DreamHack Valencia, and lots of community events going on in StarCraft 2. It's almost too much to watch, honestly. WCS, and I mean, if you watch WCS and you watch Pro League and you watch all these other things I just mentioned, lots of things going on for quote-unquote dead game here. You guys been watching any of it? Heyoka?
I have been. I've been trying to keep track of all of it, but what actually happens is because I've been having to prepare for the international and kind of keep my eye on other stuff. What ends up happening is I only watch the finals, which I would like to do more of, but at least I'm
How'd that
still trying to
work
keep
out for
track.
you this time?
Great. It worked great because I was watching the finals on my phone as Teja beat people, which I enjoy.
Yeah, so talking about IEM Shenzhen, because Asia ended
Oh
up...
fuck, never mind. I thought we were talking about the international. I mixed my shit up. Never mind.
No, but IEM Shenzhen, did you watch any of it, Steven, or no?
I've been on break past 2 days. I didn't watch shit.
Yeah, okay, I figured so. Now, IEM Shenzhen was a really, really good event. The finals was actually really good. Tasia ended up beating Solar 4-3. Is that Solar or just Solar? People were pronouncing it differently the whole time.
It's Solar.
Final, man.
It's Solar.
Solaire. Okay, Solaire. Anyways, Tasia ended up beating him 4-3, but some really great games there. Oh, God, he's just trolling me. What the fuck? What the fuck? Game 3, really, really good in that series. ZVT, so we didn't actually see a Protoss in there. But Tasia, he's a different player in the summer. I don't know what it is. He just dominates. He didn't end up winning the previous event, right? But decided to take a break, skip event, maybe throw a bone to somebody else, and then now he ended up winning IEM. And really just showing how dominant he is. But Heyoka, like, what's up with Tasia? I mean, he's obviously on your team.
I don't know, man. Maybe the warm weather helps his wrists. Maybe they get all
Think so?
fragile and brittle in the cold. I don't know.
Or is he worn out by the end, maybe? Worn out from winning, like, all summer long?
Yeah, maybe that's it. Maybe that's just how the cycle goes. He just wins all summer and then he just can't move.
What was the prize fund for this?
That's a good question. I don't think...
Because he generally tends to win the tournaments that don't have the massive prize
That's a good
funds.
point, too.
So it's almost as if there's something in his brain where it's like, this is okay. I could have a few good nights out with this and buy some nice clothes. He wins those events, but any like sort of life-changing amount of money, he's like, nah, I don't want that. Fuck
I
that
know.
money.
Maybe.
Bad
Oh, he won
wrists.
$10,000. That's decent. It's a pretty good amount. 10,000.
But that like you said, that's one of my great memories with Tasia. Like when he just said, like on the winning speech at Home Stories Cup, and they were interviewing him, and he just went, "Yeah, it's great to win. Just wish I would win
Yeah.
an event that had a real prize fund." Thanks for having
Never
me.
win more than
It was the
$10,000.
most disappointing,
Think about it.
winner's
Like,
speech
what?
there. I was
Never
like,
win more than $10,000.
Yeah, I know. So that's what I mean. That's how I judge. Like if anyone's betting, this is like the inside. This is how you bet. If it's got a serious amount of money, if it's 20,000, 25,000 or more, don't bet on Tasia. It's not happening.
Ouch, man.
I
Well,
love him though. Great guy.
yeah, he is a great guy. He's a great player too. So we'll see if
Yeah,
he
yeah.
continues
Yeah, he's
this
not bad.
streak. He's not bad.
He's not bad.
All right, we also had DreamHack Valencia that happened, and all this stuff was happening at the same time, which was kind of crazy. At least they had a little bit of overlap, Valencia and IEM. But had another surprise there. Saxery ended up beating MC3-2 in the finals, and a lot of people don't even know who Saxery is. So did you end up watching any of that, Heyoka?
I watched almost none. I did not see a lot of this event.
Okay. Well, I caught a little bit too. I mean, again, lots of stuff going on with TI4 also. But Saxery, the games I caught with him, especially the finals, he was actually down 2-1, I believe, to MC in the finals, and he ended up coming back and winning. Steven would have hated those games for sure, because MC was just basically either blink stalkering or your standard century stalker kind of death ball.
But the Zergs won, dude.
Yeah, the Zergs won. That's the big thing, right?
So Steven should be fucking loving it, loving life.
Why?
Or you could even argue.
That means I get to bitch less. That means I get to bitch less about Protoss being OP. What are you talking about?
There's so many Zergs in this bracket.
The thing that nobody realizes about tournaments
Which
of
one?
pro gamers is that you're always rooting against your own race, because if your race is winning a lot and then you personally are losing, you can't complain at all. Like,
That's
you look at fucking
Terran's
retard.
problem. Is Terran
Like, look
is
at-
winning
like,
events.
look at-
Or Tasia.
Well, Tasia, yeah.
Tasia screws all
like
the
every,
other Terrans.
Like no one,
Yeah,
no
he
one
does.
tells you this. You'll never hear other Terran players admit it, but honestly, like every Terran player fucking hates people like Tasia. Because how the fuck can you complain when Tasia's out there like making Terran look easy? Like what are you gonna do? Like TVP is unbeatable, and then Tasia's got 50 million fucking scans and never loses a single ghost. Like like it's fucking insane. Like so. Rip.
Rip. All
Why do you
right,
think
so I guess
Manuel
you're
looked
not
like such
supposed
an
to be
ass when
rooting
he
for
was,
Zergs if you play Zerg. Wow. Okay.
I know it.
Jeez.
I just
God.
I don't know why Naniwa
Great.
just doesn't come back now and just dominate for a bit. Now that Protoss is in the state that it's in.
As
And then just
Naniwa isn't
retire
the
when
kind
they
of
fix
player, it doesn't work that way. Naniwa will never take advantage of Protoss being overpowered because of his playstyle. I think he gets really fixated on doing just like a couple styles, and if something else becomes like popular, like flavor of the month, like Koreans might all hop onto certain builds that are really effective, Naniwa won't. He'll stick with his style or whatever. It's always been a major weakness of his. Yeah, I think, at least from the games that I've seen, unless somebody has more information on that. That's the player that I've ever seen Naniwa to be.
Well, he's always prepared for a certain tournament, and he would have a certain style to it, right? And he
would
goes
have a
with that
certain
one
thing
style.
prepared. Yeah.
Yeah.
I'm trying not to sound resolute because some guy in chat's like, "Well, what about that one time at MLG in 2004 when he had some build that was like nobody had ever." I don't know. But
Just
from
while
every
we're
game
here,
that I've ever,
That's
what?
actually something that we didn't put on the list of stuff to talk about, and that was Naniwa
Oh, the king thing.
releasing his statement talking about the whole walkout at
Oh, what?
IEM Katowice and stuff on Team Liquid.
yeah.
He
Yeah, that
he
was,
did a
that
forum
was just
thread.
this week.
Yeah, that was this week,
Link
and we
me,
should have
link
put it
me.
on. So,
Let's see if I
let
can
me
find it.
let me find it for you.
He like wrote a blog, basically.
Yeah,
That just explained his thought process.
I'm playing or just like
well, like why he sort of walked off and how he wished
Oh,
it sort of hadn't
missed
gone the
that.
way it went and stuff.
Mhm.
So let me
Alright,
just see if
let's
I
see
can
this.
Here, I found it.
Yeah, there you go. We've got it on the daily dot, by the way, guys.
Wow.
I don't know if you've heard of this
Wow.
website. It's pretty good.
all right, let's
So-
take a look at this. Man, every time I do this, I gotta update.
Yeah, Team
my-
Liquid
Basically
is the
says
source.
that he didn't want to go
I
to
thought-
begin with, which I think he tweeted earlier, and then but he did go because management made him essentially, and then he was just kind of like,
Oh yeah, I remember
like
that.
he played a game and was like, yeah, screw it. And then he just apologizes for that, basically.
Oh,
Says he's not
okay.
interested in StarCraft anymore, that kind of thing.
Yeah, and he says that he definitely doesn't think he'll come back even at Legacy of the Void. Because me and Johan had talked about this before as well, like privately, where he said, you know, he knows that to be the best, you've got to go out to Korea, but for him, it was like soul crushing. Like he was so just lonely and isolated out there, and it wasn't even the regime. Like the regime for him was fine. Like he was one of the most practiced people in sort of Western StarCraft. Like he would routinely do 12-hour stints of just ladder. You know, he was as hardcore as any Korean. But when he was out there and he didn't have anyone to talk to and, you know, even bounce ideas off, just someone to break up the monotony, someone he could confide in, that really weighed down on him quite a lot. And it was like, you know, I don't think a lot of people realize that for somebody like Johan, especially, perhaps more than anybody else, they're going out to Korea and effectively being alone in a gaming house where you don't speak the language with anyone. People don't want to talk to you because they don't know you and stuff. It is super difficult. So I admire the sort of honesty in that, like getting out of the game because you can't commit to it enough is what it deserves. There is sort of an admirable, there is sort of an admirable, a view of that sort of behavior. Like if you look at like all the other people that couldn't cut it for years, but just keep coming out of retirement, going to tournaments, or they've been shit and irrelevant, but because they can tell the odd joke or whatever, they go to events and they milk their career until the very fucking last drop. I think
They
anyone
milk their
now,
career. I mean, the organizers asked them to go.
well, yeah,
go to those.
okay.
What are you
So
talking about?
Regardless of who's doing it for what reasons, but like anyone now, right? He plays a race and plays it as well as anyone in the West at a time when that race is particularly overpowered in the balance, and is sat playing League of Legends solo queue, hoping that he's going to make it onto a team game, which I don't think he will. So. That's really sad in a way that like one of the greatest Western talents is just sort of sat there doing fuck all and says he won't even come back to the game when the final expansion's released, when you would expect it to get another shot in the arm.
Right,
I mean, the Korea thing is, I think that's kind of interesting, just because in the Brood War days, that's what would happen is people would go over there and then they would say, "This is really terrible. This is like soul crushing. I'm here by myself. I have no one to talk to. The Koreans don't really accept me because I don't speak their language. It's very difficult to communicate. It's just, I do nothing but practice. I don't leave the house. I can't do this for more than like a month." It happened to, I think Draco even made a post saying just how terrible it was for his emotions and his personality when he went over there in 2007 or whenever that was. That's something that is not actually touched on that often for whatever reason.
Well, I mean, people do talk about how lonely it is and things like that, but a real in-depth type of analysis on it or interview about it, not very much.
Interestingly too, though, like on the flip side, when they've done stuff like the Gom House, which is all foreigners, the impression or like the thing we hear on the outside is that they just go there and they just kind of like do nothing and hang out, and then nothing gets accomplished. Yeah, and then they have to leave because they can't handle the practice. So I don't know.
Well, the problem is that like a lot of people think that if you go to Korea, like you're just automatically gonna become better, I guess. But it doesn't work like that. Like you still have to put in a lot of work. A lot of Koreans still won't play with you. Like you've got to make a big. This is the same thing. I've heard this from Scarlett and I've heard this from Naniwa, and I think Rhett confirmed this too. I didn't talk to him as much about it, but like you can't just go to a Korean gaming house and then all of a sudden everybody's friends and they're all talking to you and sharing strats and shit. Like if you want custom games with them, you have to go out of your way to ask them. And you've got to continue to ask them. They're not going to just rope you into games or conversation and whatnot. And even if you are getting games with them, the bulk of everybody's practice in Korea is still on the ladder. They don't just play custom games all day long. A lot of the practice that they do is still on the ladder. So, I mean...
Yeah, a lot of people said that's even just going to Korea just to play on the ladder is worth it.
It's worth it, yeah.
Which kind of surprises me. That's a pretty expensive endeavor, and a very huge investment just to play on the ladder. That's crazy. All right, well, let's move on. Lots of other community events going on right now. The big one from Daystro TV is going on. I think it's second day 2 right now. So be sure to check that out. Let's see, let me just put some of these on here. The big one, the Gfinity event's coming up, and then of course, Destiny 1 is coming up. Is that next week? Is that next week, Steven, or is that the week after?
I hope not.
It's probably.
I don't know.
All right. So, anyways,
August,
lots of stuff.
August 5th through 10th.
Yeah. So lots of good stuff going on. Lots of really good players playing in these tournaments too. These smaller tournaments. What do you guys think? What do you guys think of the community, or just you're seeing a lot more of these small events, in tandem with the bigger IEMs and DreamHacks and of course WCS? Heyoka?
I mean, I think it's cool. I don't have a hugely interesting opinion on it. It's nice to see. I'm a little worried about StarCraft, just in the sense that it's hard for me personally to keep track of all the events, because it seems like there's a different event every day. And I have to look up the brackets every time and see who's playing and figure out what's going on with it. But other than that, it's not a huge problem, because I like turning on events and watching them.
Yeah.
I do like that there's more of people always talked about these grassroots things forever, about how we need them and they're a big part of the community, but no one really did them, and it's cool to see that they're actually becoming more of a thing now.
Well, are these kind of events grassroots whenever they're mostly Korean players?
The Destiny one is a Kickstarter funded, which is super cool.
Okay. Organization-wise, okay, I
agree.
it.
Yeah.
I get
Such
you.
Cool.
Yeah.
Fuck yeah.
I was thinking more from the player standpoint, but yeah, organization-wise, that's true. Grassroots.
I want to see more. I would like to see more financially sustainable tournaments. I'm really excited about mine. I can't wait till it happens and I see how the viewership and all the numbers, whatever. Because I'm already got money in the bank from my tournament. Like I've already profited like a great deal. So if something like this is like possible to do over and over and over and over again, like if I could get the same Indiegogo funding, like I said, after I finish the tournament, I'll do a fuck ton of polling to figure out what people's opinions are. But like this tournament was funded by I want to say like 300 people, if that.
Yeah. So sponsored
I
by the
think it was
community,
less.
right? So
Yeah. So I mean, like, if I'm able to make, and I made like I'm so far like if I were to pocket all of the extra money, which I don't think I'm gonna do. I probably put the next towards the next tournament is what I said I'd do. But like if I were to pocket all the money, like it's a really easy money that I've made doing this. So like if something like that is sustainable, the reason why I keep going back to the money, it kind of sounds like I'm being a dick, but like if something is financially sustainable like that, like it's something that could theoretically continue indefinitely, and it's not something that'll disappear anytime soon. And if the tournament itself is good, right, which is what a lot of this comes down to, if the games are really good and the players are happy with the conditions and everything, like it would be really cool to have something like that people know isn't going to just disappear one day. Like, like IGN got a new buyer and they reevaluated their assets and IPL is fucking nuked, or NASL lost, the Russian mafia backing them with their World of Tanks, front for money laundering. So now NASL is gone. Or MLG hates the StarCraft 2 community because Sundance has Asperger's and can't tweet right. So like that, it would be cool to see like tournaments like. I mean, I'm dick riding myself a little bit, but to see tournaments like mine pop up and survive off of community funding and like other perks and whatnot, that would be really cool to see those kinds of models, perpetuate into the future, I think.
So the Indiegogo, it only went over by like 400 or so, right?
Yeah, I didn't actually
That's
advertise for it.
Is there a lot? Is there other?
days.
Is there other method that you're raising money for it that I don't know about? Or
Oh yeah, I've got 4 different sponsors lined up at $500 a pop.
oh, that's right.
So
I forgot you had sponsors.
it's an extra
too.
2,000 over the top right there, plus any
Yeah.
ad revenue I collect. Like,
Yeah.
yeah, I mean it's a decent gig. Like like I said, if I pocket everything for this, like I would do this a million times over. I would never stop doing it,
Mm-hmm.
But a lot of people, I don't like the idea that, I mean, I say this, but I don't know how the numbers work. I mean, actually the Heyoka would probably know better than me if depending on what he has access to. But I don't like that that it's kind of become like an accepted thing that tournaments who just ran at a huge fucking loss and you treat them as advertising for whatever other business model you have. Like MLG advertises their platform, or Valve is just advertising Steam, Riot is advertising League of Legends. It'd be cool if tournaments in and of themselves could figure out a way to be profitable. Like I think that would be a nice precedent to set, so that like somebody
TI runs at a huge profit. Like a massive
yeah,
profit.
fuck. No, yeah, that's true. I shouldn't say that. Fuck the
Yeah.
compendium. The compendium was a really good idea. And I say that actually now I'm wondering if WCS could run at a profit, except Blizzard would never fucking do, because Blizzard doesn't like making money. I don't understand why they don't do anything like that, but, yeah.
I mean, I actually do think it's possible for a lot of these to run at a profit. I don't know how many
they do.
currently are not running at a profit, but I know in the past, like even the tournaments we've had that haven't been very successful have been around break even. So I think it's
Oh, that's
very,
good.
very doable.
Are you talking online events or live
Yeah,
events?
yeah. I'm talking only online. It's way different for
Online
offline,
events, sure.
obviously, because you gotta
Yeah,
rent a studio and stuff. It's a huge cost, but I do think running these at a profit is very possible. I don't have any idea about how most tournaments are currently doing it, obviously, because I don't look at their financials. But
Sure.
All right. So another event that's going to be going on soon is, or at least the finals for it is the Nation Wars tournament, and that was the one.
Guys, you
What?
gotta fucking not let me talk about this, because I've just been pestered by French people since the
Don't talk
Unfiltered
about
we
it.
brought this up. Like,
didn't they make like $1 billion on their crowdfunding?
But seriously, I got to ask, like, maybe I'm straying into foreign territory here, right? But why are the French so nationalistic, dude? Like, seriously,
What's wrong with being nationalistic? Jeez.
everything.
Their StarCraft scene has always been that way. I think it's
Everything.
actually kind of cool.
Patriots are fucking idiots, right? Like, it's not an insult against your country if I just happen to suggest the numbers maybe aren't quite believable. It's not like I'm insulting the whole of France. Just fucking, I'm just saying it's a little bit weird. Like, I don't know if everyone's going to get paid everything that they're owed.
Well,
The
we
numbers are-
kind of talked about it, right? Like it includes entry fees or whatever, right? Like doesn't the crowdfunding include some of the registration fees or something like that? There was something else that was not your typical crowdfunding.
Probably.
Oh, the
but
ticket fees.
The
Yeah,
ticket
yeah,
fees, the ticket fees, yeah.
Oh, does
Yeah.
it?
Yeah, so I mean, it's not nearly this high crowdfunding.
I'm just saying, like, seriously, like, I have been inundated with hate mail since I just said, I think we've earned the right to be skeptical. And almost all of it is in the stilted English a French person that rejects
Okay,
the language.
so we should
of the
just
enemy.
cut Richard off now before the French start
Maybe it's time to
rioting.
just move topics.
No. I'm just saying, guys. Come on, seriously.
Oh,
Like,
God.
if it was a tiddlywink competition, they'd get this upset about it. Like, guys, I'm just voicing my opinion. It's not an affront to France. I'm not going to war with you guys. I've been to France many times, and yes, practically every time I have, your events have absolutely sucked, by the way. But, you know, I haven't complained about it. I've just got on with my job.
All right. So France is playing Mexico. Let's actually just talk a little briefly about it. Who's on the French team? Oh my God, Stefano Daci and Lilba. Okay, that's a pretty good team. Maker, Jim Rising, and Major for Mexico. So it's the final four countries, guys, and Norway and Poland. Okay, Poland's got Mana, Nurcio, and Tuffle. That's pretty good. And Norway, Snoot, Targa. Oh wow, that's a pretty good matchup right there. Well, anyways, pretty cool. I mean, I've always liked how this whole country versus country setup. There's not many of these that we have in the StarCraft 2 esports scene, so it's kind of cool. You know, I'm kind of interested to see who's going to end up winning and if maybe they can build some momentum for it. That should be happening. I forget what the date is. Oh, here we go. 1 day, 11 hours. So it's going to be this weekend. So check that out, guys.
Dude.
What?
Netherlands.
Netherlands? Where?
Netherlands.
Oh, no.
Fuck off.
What?
What?
Jesus.
No, they're already out. I know. Yeah, but they should have done better.
Okay.
They got the best players. They got Harston. They should have won. Disappointed.
What are you talking about?
I'm saying the Netherlands should win the whole thing with the collection of players they've got.
They already lost.
Yeah, I know. What the fuck?
What the fuck is going on? Oh, should have.
What the
I
fuck?
thought you were talking
Am
about
I-
I thought you were talking about like Star Strikers for a second. I'm like, Hearthstone playing the Star Strikers thing. What the hell are you talking
I'm
about?
glad we had this talk.
Yeah, exactly.
What is going
Wow.
on
what
right
I
the
know,
fuck?
exactly. We're
Did
just
I
freaking out.
Heyoka, did I have a stroke? Did that happen?
I
I said the
I
Netherlands
was-
should have won.
Hey man, I was
They've
here
got the
too.
best players.
Oh god.
Wow.
Okay. Anyways.
Holy fuck, man.
All right. What
Glad
else
we-
is
I'm glad
there?
we
Oh,
all
we
did
have I am disband or potentially disbanding, right? A lot of
No, disbanding. Disbanding, not potentially. It was confirmed by Wolf, I think.
it was.
Or Caldor, or some. Was it Wolf that tweeted
Well,
it?
Wolf tweeted about it. Then he tweeted that basically they haven't officially disbanded.
It's like
There's still
sort of
3
confirmed,
players on their
sort of
team
not
or something,
confirmed.
so it's not official that they're disbanding. But a lot of their players, a lot of their big name players, MVP included, left the team. So it's kind of sad, you know. Like Incredible Miracles has always been one of my favorite teams, you know, just Korean teams since I've been following StarCraft 2 esports. Kind of want to get your thoughts on it. Steven, what do you think?
Sorry, I ate a cookie. I don't know. IM's never really had that great of players. I don't think they've been that significant in StarCraft 2. I don't
I think we
they'll be
can
missed.
say that IM as an organization is
Oh my
maybe
God.
not the best run. I'm judging that purely from. Do you remember last year when it turned out that they still had LG IM in their name, and LG had stopped sponsoring them
Yes, I
like
remember
2
that.
months prior?
I
Yeah.
remember that.
IM is actually one of the. I think IM is the greatest example of Korean. What's the word I'm looking for? Where you blunder something? Korean inadequacy, deficiency. There's a word I'm looking for. Korean.
What?
Ineptitude,
There you
that's
go.
the word. Yeah, Korean ineptitude when it comes to like leveraging one of the most successful StarCraft 2 teams of all time into like actually making money with it. Like even in their glory days, I don't think MVP or Nesty, I don't think either of them were ever salaried. I don't think anybody on that team was ever salaried. That's what I heard. And then like the botched deal with LG, the never finding ways to get sponsors, like it was really sad. It's really sad seeing how IM was like unable to ever like establish themselves financially. I think that's really sad.
This has happened to lots of Korean teams, though, hasn't it? I mean, I think there's definitely like Western people have this idea that everything in Korean esports is fucking, you know, like they just shit success, and with that comes the money. And in actual fact, I mean, you know, I've talked to lots of players that have been to, you know, not top tier Korean gaming houses, but sub tier, and they've said it's like 9 roll-up mattresses like on a floor, and no one's getting paid any money. Everyone's miserable. Like we've seen it in League of Legends on numerous occasions where, you know, people have been effectively held hostage and forced to like do elo boosting and stuff like that, just to sort of pay the fucking bills on a gaming house. Yeah, this has happened. You know,
I thought that was illegal.
Well, it's not illegal. It's just
it's just you can be
service.
frowned on.
You know a thing or two about violating terms of service, don't you, Chris?
okay.
And you wouldn't want it to be illegal, would you? So no. My point is this: that I think we've got a very what's the word? A rosy tinted perception of how things are in Korea. And in actual fact, you know, I know Total Biscuit has talked about this quite a lot as well. These people aren't, and his wife, these people aren't making bank like they should. Their talent is not commensurate with what they're being paid. And it's not this utopia at all. There's a lot of problems.
Yeah, absolutely.
That's the standard StarCraft thing where it's like you have really skilled people and people just assume that that's immediate success, but it never works that way. Like skill doesn't translate that way. Just not how the world works.
Sorry, go
one
on,
of the interesting things that some people have kind of put out there, and it's hard to say how true it is, but that the big problems with Korean teams in StarCraft 2, because Korean teams in StarCraft 2 were like never able to monetize. Like they were just fucking terrible at it. They were just so bad at it. And it was always strange seeing teams like EG and Liquid, who had infinitely less skilled players, all managing to make like salaries and shit. You know, remember when we saw? I mean, I guess it still kind of happens to a little bit, but there were always these brief spurts of exoduses from the Korean pro gaming scene, where all of these kind of B teamer Koreans, or even like decent Koreans, would leave their good Korean team and they'd go west looking for teams. That's because they would always leave thinking like because of the stories they've heard. Oh, well, like every fucking Western team, everybody makes all that money.
Steeped in gold.
Because nobody.
Yeah.
Yeah, because nobody in fucking Korean teams got paid shit, even on the toppest of the fucking tier teams. A lot of people that I've talked to have kind of said that one of the reasons for this, maybe the biggest reason, is that in the Brood War days, you didn't really have to learn how to like leverage sponsors or make business deals or anything, because Kespa held your hand for better or for worse through fucking everything. That you never, ever, ever had to talk to anybody important. You just had to talk to the Kespa manager dude, and everything would be taken care of. So when StarCraft 2 comes out and Kespa hasn't moved over yet, all of these people who have no experience, like you thought the Western scene was inexperienced with their business stuff, like it was even worse in Korea. No one had any fucking idea how to fund anything, because they didn't have Kespa there to kind of walk them through everything again.
Yeah, I mean, they just didn't really utilize, like you said, MVP and Nessie.
Slayers.
Yes, Slayers.
Slayers disbanding. Oh man, how the fuck did that with fucking Boxer and Jessica on the team?
No, there's a lot of stuff going on with that.
That was mind blowing. Yeah, I'm sure, I know, but I mean, like, fuck.
Sure. No, I mean, I can't disagree with any of that. I mean, definitely the Korean teams could have marketed their players much better. Even, you know, trained them how to stream a little bit better, instead of just playing and no cam. You know what I mean? There's a lot of things they could have done.
The Korean streams are such a fucking slap in the face. Fucking, oh my god, MKP's got a stream on, and he's like either off racing or he's like
yeah, that was true.
Showing replays.
It's like him watching replays or something.
Can we be fucking real? Yeah, blaring K-pop
Could be literally
at like
anyone
32
playing.
kilobits per second. Oh my god.
That's true. That's true. All right.
Yeah,
well,
I mean, honestly, it has been a clusterfuck. Like, I'm just reading up while you're talking. God, Slayers, what a fucking mess that was, by the way. I just think, lest we forget.
MMA was hitting on fucking
Eve.
the one chick,
Jessica
Eve,
was
and
fun.
like...
Her
Has
Twitter was
anybody here gotten their international lawsuit in the mail yet? Do you think Jessica can get the United States to extradite you to Korea for your hate tweets? Jesus.
Man, that breakdown
Those were
she
fun
had
days,
was
remember that?
fucking spectacular, though.
Every day there was
Serious.
something new.
That was a Charlie Sheen level
for like a week's
breakdown.
time, there was something crazy every day. That was kind of nuts.
Absolute
It was all great.
clusterfuck, man.
But yeah, Slayers, you know, obviously that was one of the biggest Korean teams too, and had potentially the most, you know, I don't know, the most powerful player. Is that fair to say? You know, in Boxer, was there anybody more powerful?
It's fucking... I think no one in Korea. I think I'm almost positive that Boxer is like the most recognizable person in gaming in all of Korea. Like Boxer is like even on a level above like Flash or Jaedong or BC, like those guys. Like he's on a level above that. Like there are some K dramas or whatever that like make references. Like I'm sure everybody's seen the K drama with the four guys playing in the LAN or whatever. There's some K drama where there are four guys. They're supposed to be working at like a laundromat or some shit, and all four of them are playing. And then like I guess the guy's wife calls and like at first it's like, hey, like some like your manager or the owner of the laundromat showed up, and the guy's like, yeah, whatever, we're coming. And they're all playing Brood War. And then you know another guy's wife calls and she's like, hey, like you know some famous actress is in our laundromat. You should come see her, whatever. And the guy's like, yeah, whatever. And then they hang up. And then finally they had a call. it's like, hey, Slayer's Boxer dropped by the laundromat, and they all like immediately quit their game and like try to run over, to go and see him. Like Boxer is like one of those people that actually transcended just gaming, and it was like recognizable in like so many parts of Korea. So to see Slayer's disband, I mean, I'm not trying to beginning of the end, but like when that happened, that was like the biggest like what the fuck moment. That was the biggest wake up moment of like, oh fuck, StarCraft 2 might not be where we want it to be, or like where Brood War should have put it. Like that was a big what the fuck moment when Slayer's disbanded, in my opinion. Oh, they were playing StarCraft 2. My bad. Fuck you.
Well,
Thanks, Chad.
it'll be interesting to see. Obviously, I am disbanding. I mean, they're not going to be part of Pro League anymore. But I think StarTale's going to be joining Pro League, so I don't think that's going to impact Pro League much at all. Let me see if there's any other StarCraft news. Supernova joining Root.
Stop. It's I mean, if he's getting any money, he's got the ability. Maybe they can send him to travel someplace.
Richard,
I don't know.
stop, man. Richard.
Yeah, Richard.
What
Fuck.
do you mean? Why? What the
I'm just
fuck?
kidding.
Whole of Reddit laughed at that move, right? Like, what? Are we going to pretend now that Supernova isn't slumming it? Do we need to say that for like political correctness? He could do better, dude. Fact. Just saying.
Well, if he could
No
do
one-
better, wouldn't he be doing better? Oops.
Look, here's my concern with what happened, right, with Supernova. This poor fucking guy, he is cursed. And I'll tell you why I know he's cursed. Because, right, I wrote the article when he got burned by MTW and they owned him a bunch of fucking money and fucked him over. And I think the only thing he got out of them was a monitor, and he still owed thousands of pounds or dollars, whatever denomination you want to use. And then the guy goes, you know what? I need a fresh start. Azubu. What could go wrong? Right? So then the guy goes to Azubu, and now he's in Root fucking Gaming.
He was on
Dude,
OGS too.
Seriously.
He was on
Oh, right.
OGS.
Yeah, there you go. Seriously, this guy, like, just the guy needs a break. He doesn't need Root Gaming. Okay, like this. He's a really good player. He's really talented. He's a super nice guy.
Then why
And
hasn't
now he's
anybody
in
else
Root.
picked him up? You know what I mean? It's
Well, I don't know.
Oh,
It's
Shane,
almost
dropping the
as
hard
if-
questions now, Richard.
no,
okay,
I'm
okay,
just serious.
It's almost as if if you're a Korean player and you're reasonably talented, organizations don't want to touch you because they're worried you'll fucking cost too much. And they don't even look at it like not in NA and I don't want to buy into that dead game thing. I say it as a joke, but people aren't going to fucking invest in like top tier StarCraft talent now. If you were going to invest in top tier that was going to break the bank, there's a list of games you would invest in it. You wouldn't fucking go for StarCraft. Not now.
I
Those
almost
days are
think
gone.
at this point, I think Counter-Strike teams might even be more lucrative. I don't think I ever would have imagined myself saying that.
Yeah, they are. It's a growth.
Counter-Strike's doing really well now.
Counter-Strike's
Yeah, I
doing
know,
great.
but like, could you imagine somebody saying that like 3 years ago? Remember when Source first came out and people were like, "This is the worst fucking thing in the."
Well, even like a
fucking,
year and a half ago, actually.
Yeah, CS:GO came out
Like-
and no one knew that it had even been released.
I know.
Yeah.
Well,
So,
it's,
you know,
well, it's
I'll-
amazing
I'll-
what happens when Valve.
I mean, look at what
more
Mouse
resources
Sports
into it.
did with Deer. Like, okay, so they picked
Yeah.
Deer up, and they're like, right, okay, so here's what we're gonna do. Yeah, we're gonna make all these fucking demands. That you have to, learn English, do this, do that, be amazing, win all your tournaments while you're learning a foreign language and practicing super hard. And then when that doesn't happen, we're just going to drop you instantly anyway, because we actually can't afford you and we want to get the money together for the international. So we can send a Dota team to the international. So he got absolutely fucked. And this is happening more and more. And all I'm saying is, like, two things have happened here. Either Supernova's had to lower his standards to a tragic level, because, we all know the stories coming out of Root. It's not like anyone's getting paid a lot of money over in that neck of the woods, or even sent to a lot of tournaments, if we're honest about it. Well, okay, there is no war. Like, it's just hard fucking times for Supernova. And I just think it's one of those relationships that's going to fizzle out. No one's going to have benefited from it. It just sucks, dude. It just sucks. It sucks to see a nice guy, like, having to resort to that. So, there you go. That's my views on it.
Boom! Drop the
Boom.
mic.
All right, that's quite a way to end the StarCraft 2 segments there. But let's
StarCraft 2, our last
talk-
StarCraft 2 segment ever.
let's talk about TI4, since Heyoka here was at TI4, and
I was literally there.
yeah, you were working it, were you just the cameraman for Hotbit, or were you doing more?
I mean, I was doing Liquid Dota stuff too, but most of the stuff I did for Valve was just working the camera for Hotbit, where I guess technically, I also helped him find interviews, which counts a little bit.
Yeah. Okay, so let's talk about this event. Obviously, this was deemed as the Super Bowl of esports, or at least it's kind of seen that way, given that it is generally the most hyped up event that we see each year. And on top of that, we had a over $10 million prize pool this year too. So just kind of stacked on top of that, new venue, bigger venue. This whole thing was just supposed to be bigger, just grander than last year. And want to get your general thoughts first, and then we'll kind of dig into, I guess, the individual parts or the details.
Okay.
So what's your thoughts on it, Heyoka?
Well, I have like a billion things to say about a billion different aspects of this. Overall, I think it was pretty good. I think Valve took what they had last year and they improved on it a little bit, not a ton. I think it was the production was pretty decent. It was fun to be at. I liked the big venue. I thought the venue was actually really cool because they had all this extra space, and so there was like more stuff they could do. They had like workshop creators would sit there and give demonstrations of what they were doing and stuff. That was kind of neat. And then the venue itself was really fun, just to be inside like the big stadium, so you could see like all the people around you, and it got really loud, and that was pretty cool. Overall, I think it was a positive event. That as people have seen, the public perception has not been as good as it was for TI3, which is not great, and I think Valve could have done some things to improve on that.
Like,
that's kind of my general thoughts.
Okay, well, I guess we'll get into a little bit of that, but Richard, what'd you think?
Oh, you're really asking me about Dota? What the fuck? I've talked for ages. Let's get Steven involved. Let's throw him out.
Steven hasn't even watched
If I
any
gotta
of it.
talk about StarCraft,
Dude, those games.
this asshole can talk about Dota.
I'm actually I didn't know shit about Dota, but what happened was I was going through the Dota 2 general threads, and I got a lot of X20 laying around after I funded this tournament, right? Because I haven't paid any of that shit out yet, and I was thinking like, how can I fund Destiny 2, right? The easiest way would be obviously to double my money. And when I was going through the Dota 2 threads, I saw that there was going to be a big conspiracy about the finals being rigged and the one team winning 3-1. So I went up to that Dota betting site. I put all my money on it, and I just want to say that I've already got enough money for a live event now for the next Destiny thing. That's all I got for Dota. Thank you. I heard the games were disappointing though. I didn't actually watch them, but.
Well, I mean, the biggest thing, right, or the biggest difference between at least last year is, there were two Chinese teams in the finals, and, Navi didn't make it, EG didn't make it, Cloud9 didn't make it, Alliance didn't make it. There weren't those favorite teams or favorite foreigner teams in the finals, and I think it had something to do with it. The games themselves too were pretty, I don't know, they weren't exciting at all.
They weren't very interesting.
Yeah, they weren't interesting.
They're all over in about 20 minutes.
Yeah, exactly. The finals being on a Monday too. Was the finals weren't on a Monday last year, were they? I could have sworn I was watching it from a hotel.
Was the entire last day on a Monday last year?
Yeah.
I don't think it was. Wasn't it on a Sunday?
Yeah,
it was
I
like
don't know if
Thursday
it
through
was
Sunday.
last year.
I think it was
Only
Thursday
if it
through
was,
Sunday.
It didn't piss
Yeah, it was
everyone
on
off like
Sunday.
it did this year.
I
Yeah.
could have sworn I was because
Well, the difference was even if it had been on a Monday, there was like a whole day of play that day. Whereas this was only the finals, only after like
and
a
only
2-hour
like a 75-minute
show.
final.
Yeah, and like the
Yeah.
pregame show is literally longer than the actual finals, which it's not
which
great.
also started at like, what was it? I think cover started at 9 a.m.
Yeah, it was
Pacific or
9
something
a.m. local time
on a
or
Monday,
9:15 or something.
which
Yeah.
was kind of crazy. It's actually amazing that so many people were able to show up at it. I mean, they filled that arena even given the times too.
Yeah, they did. Well, I think one of the things they may or may not have done intentionally was that they told everyone that the games would start, like at 9 a.m. Not saying that there would be this. They said there would be a pre-show, but they didn't ever say how long the pre-show would be. So people were filtering in between like 9 and 9:30, thinking the games would start soon. Except for then the pre-show lasted like another hour and a half until the games actually started at 11.
Right.
And that number was not posted anywhere. Like no one at the venue had any idea when the games were going to start. They just knew that they would be after this pre-show, which would be an indeterminate amount of time.
Right.
It did fill up the venue though. It was very full.
Yeah, it was full. I mean, the pictures and the just the sight of just the full arena with even the confetti coming down and stuff. Yeah, there were it was great pictures and it looked amazing. It was probably super loud. So the arena.
Was it
nice.
a good spectator experience?
I enjoyed it. I had a lot of fun. I thought it was really fun being in the crowd there and just because like the way the arena works is that when people cheer, it kind of echoes and it's really fun. And the screens were really huge. And the actual stage setup was basically what you expect anywhere, so it wasn't amazing, but it wasn't bad. The actual when the teams came out before they played the final, it was super cool because they like marched down. They had like these two guys, these flag bearer guys, come down and like kind of circle this floor area, and then they would stand there, and then the teams came in one by one with all their players like in a row, and then they walked up side by side, and it was really cool. Overall, I really enjoyed the venue. I thought it was fun to sit there and watch, and it was a pretty nice being in a stadium instead of like a cramped hall, which we normally have.
Yeah. Overall, were the results surprising to you with newbie winning?
Not super surprising. I knew coming into it, like last year, we knew that Alliance and Navi were really strong relative to Chinese teams because Alliance had won G1, I think it was, and then Navi had won the Alienware Cup, and they had kind of crushed like DK and LGD in them. And so we knew that they would probably be pretty even. We didn't know that China would finish outside the top 3 because Orange came in and kind of crushed people. But we were pretty confident that Western teams would do okay. And this year it was sort of the opposite, where we were fairly confident that Western teams were maybe a little bit behind based on their performance at stuff like ESL, where IG just like dominated everyone, like, you know, half-an-hour games and stuff.
Yeah.
So the results, like going into it, I think our actual power rank had EG at number 3, but we had, you know, like DK, Newbie. I guess VC wasn't really predicted, but we knew the China teams would probably be on top. And I knew going into it that a China versus China final was incredibly likely.
Yeah, Newbie ended up. I mean, they were almost eliminated actually.
Yeah,
in
they
the
were
group
actually
stage.
they had to play a tiebreaker on Wednesday to
On the
determine if they would even
elimination
make the
stages,
top 10. Yeah,
exactly. And then they were just on fire and got really hot at the end of the day, and then just carried it over into winning the whole event.
I mean, this format was like, so TI does a thing where the finals don't have any sort of winner bracket advantage.
Yeah,
and in the past, what they have said is that the advantage of being in the winner bracket is that you don't have to play all these loser bracket games, because normally you end up having to play like 4 best-of-3s on a single day going into the finals.
What?
And it leaves you really tired.
Yeah.
Except for this year they did that, except they spaced it out across several
Right.
days, and so you didn't have that disadvantage. And these loser bracket teams were coming in, and what it looked like sort of to us is that they would like find their strategy and they would just get into their groove and they would just kill people. And that's what VG did, that's what Newbie did, is they just kept playing, and they were playing teams that were maybe not as warmed up. And so I think maybe the format actually worked out badly for Valve in that sense. But
and I know that a lot of people were disappointed that an American team didn't win it, but obviously the American government is the real winner in all of this. So America did kind of win because they get to pocket 30% in taxes from that $5 million prize money that Newbie are going to get. So
yes, they do.
God bless America. We can start bombing innocent brown people again. Well done. We've now got the money to fund several other wars against terror.
I don't know, man. $1 million doesn't go that long in war.
No, it's one missile.
I don't know. It depends who you're buying. But yeah.
Stark Enterprises.
I was amazed at that 30% in taxes.
Yeah, that's normal.
Yeah, that's like
40%
crazy.
in some cases, man.
Well,
Yeah,
it's
I know.
the way it works
federal
is
government. You want to know what's real good about the federal government of the United States is that even if you move international, you still have to pay federal income tax. How fucked is that? You have to renounce your fucking citizenship to the United States government if you want to work abroad and not have to pay federal income tax back to the United States government. Damn.
Well, some countries actually have a tax treaty with the U.S. where the government doesn't take that 30%. China and Canada do not. So China got the bulk of the prize pool. They paid it.
I could be wrong. I did a lot of reading on this when because I was considering setting up like an LLC or whatever for my Destiny shit, but then I eventually arrived at the conclusion that there was no advantage. But I think in order to take advantage of those tax havens, don't you have to like establish a business there first, and then the money goes to that business, and then you pay yourself out of that? I thought that's how that worked.
I don't know the exacts of how it worked. What I know is that I was talking to Valve because I had to attend their prize payout meeting, and they were just saying like the way it works is we'll pay you X. If you're from these certain countries, we have to take our 30% and send it to the U.S. government. If you're from this other list of countries, we don't take that because of the tax shelter thing. And from what I've heard, MLG doesn't do that, so I don't know if that's like a unique thing Valve does or what it is, but
I think MLG just sends 1099s. I think because I've never had any taxes withheld on an MLG payment before.
I mean,
I don't know the specifics enough to talk about it.
It makes you wonder about that place as having it in America, because in 2011, you didn't need to pay any taxes on that because it was in Germany. It was in Cologne, so they didn't need to pay any taxes on the prize money.
Yeah, I think one of the players actually told us that the German government held their thing until they had to. I don't know if they paid taxes or what it was, but they had some trouble even getting it paid out because of that.
Well, yeah, you're certainly not legally obliged to pay any taxes in Cologne, Germany, not on prize money anyway. Which is one of the reasons why esports is, one of those unspoken reasons, I should say, why esports has kind of thrived there. But yeah, I mean, I couldn't believe it. I was reading it. It was a report on games in Asia.
What's
That place.
Yeah.
What's funny is I feel like the $10 million prize or the $5 million first place prize was, I don't know. I don't think it really added that much to the hype, especially with the finals. Like once EG got knocked out, I feel like the air from the balloon just kind of went out.
Yeah, well, see, the thing is like had the teams in the finals been like the fan favorites, like people like the players on Newbie and BG, but they're not like perennial fan favorites like Navi or EG or even like Fnatic are. And had those teams been in the finals, it would have created a ton of hype.
Even if one of them, even if
Yeah,
EG was
this
in
is
the finals.
actually
Correct.
This is a beautiful discussion because this actually ties exactly in with what we talked to at the start of the show about studios paying money to set up shit, when in reality it's just you just have to have the people that have the biggest fans there, and like a stream with Day 9 like shitting on himself will get more viewers than like a $50 million studio, etc., etc. You know, much the same way that like a show match with like fucking EG versus whatever other favorite Dota 2 teams is going to be more hype than two no-name Chinese teams playing for a fucking $10 million TI4 international fucking tournament finals.
And the more fucked up thing is that the way people remember events is they remember them by the game quality of the finals. Like, if you remember NASL Season 1, that was a terrible tournament for literally like 2 months. And then even the live event was really bad for 2 days. But the very last series was really good. And so people remember that like, oh yeah, that was a cool tournament. It's like not really what happened. And the problem with TI is now that they did this format where there was nothing but the finals on the final day. And because the game quality was not great, it leaves people with sort of a bad taste in their mouth, despite the fact that the tournament itself was still pretty decent.
Yeah, agreed. It was so much to live up to based on last year's. I mean, last year was, I kind of said this last week. It was as ideal of a kind of finale to a Dota 2 tournament as you're going to get. Basically two of the crowd favorites battling each other in the what people were saying was arguably the most epic Dota 2 game they've ever seen. A competitive
right.
2.
Plus, last year the best game of the tournament was Game 5 of the finals. That never happens. That never ever happens. There's no way you can top that. It'd be so difficult to make a better run than that, just because that game was so crazy back and forth.
I mean, I've said on this show before I don't watch Dota, but I watched that final as it happened, and it's one of the great fucking moments in esports history.
Yeah, that whole game was just was awesome.
That's what I mean. The entire series, back and forth, and just the commentary, like everything about it is just on point. Like if you don't get nerd chills off watching that, you don't really like esports.
And you got the superstars, you had Dendy and Loda and all those guys. Right?
Yeah, exactly. There's all that history
amazing.
behind the teams and stuff.
Yeah,
it's great.
It was as ideal as you get, and so it was hard to actually live up to that.
It was always going to be hard to top it.
Yeah.
But I think, based on people I've spoke to, maybe you guys disagree, a lot of people were saying everything was a little bit flatter this time around, like even the analysis desk.
Yeah, let's talk about production. So let's talk about
the
desk.
production was a little bit flat,
Well, so the thing I feel is that, like, last year, Valve came in and they made this tournament, and it was really, I felt like it really blew people away at the time because they had a professional host. Casey was really good. They had the analyst panel, which was well done, and not a lot of tournaments had done that beforehand. And then they also, what made it really unique at that time was that they had almost no downtime at all. They had pre-recorded segments in between. They had Casey doing stuff in the crowd in between games, and the time in between games was pretty short. And that was really unheard of in Dota events, at least at the time. Normally you'd watch an event and there'd be a game, and then there'd be like half an hour of nothing. And they did a really good job of producing it. And they did the same thing this year. However, the problem was now pretty much every tournament does that. ESL did a great job of that. They had a panel. I think their panel might have actually been better.
I think their panel was better, actually.
Yeah, they had a panel where they brought in pros. They had Red Eye, who was really good. They rotated in new people. They had also had very, very little downtime. They had pretty decent games. And so the thing is like Valve improved a little bit, but they didn't improve a lot. They stayed sort of the same while everyone else was brought up to their level. And so now TI is this tournament that's supposed to be hugely, just immensely better than everything else.
The
And in
Super Bowl of
reality,
The Super Bowl,
esports.
exactly.
right. And in reality,
Right.
it's like around on par or maybe a little bit better than ESL. Like there's a big thread right now where people are arguing if they thought ESL or TI was better, and that's not great because TI as a project is like 10 times bigger.
That's right.
And
That's
so
right.
when you have a single event that is just on par, it leaves people with a bad taste in their mouth.
Yeah.
So, they
Props
were
to
expecting
ESL
to be
though,
blown
right?
away.
Oh yeah, of course.
Yes.
props.
Oh, ESL did great.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I mean, that stadium, they had a stadium too, right? So it was
Yep.
outdoor too, which was
Yeah.
even more impressive. So what did you guys think about? I mean, this is going to sound a little petty, but what did you even think about the wardrobe of the panel on all the days? Because I'll throw out something. So James wore like a hoodie or something on the
Did
second
you
to
notice
last
they made
day.
him change that partway through that day?
I
What if he
I'm
wore a
just
hoodie?
I don't even
He wore a
understand
hoodie
it,
for like
man.
the first segment, and then they played a game, and they came back, and he was wearing a suit.
Yeah.
Someone
So
said something.
I gotta say, I don't know if anyone said anything. I could probably ask him. He probably's told me, but I think there's this. I don't know if James knows this. There's a recurring dialogue in esports at the moment where people are whispering, as we do in the shadows, about being sort of concerned about James. Like, has he fallen off? Has he lost his passion? Like, whatever fucking
What?
phrase you want to use.
Okay.
Like, people are saying like they don't know if he wants to continue with the whole esports thing. Like, he's really focused on Reborn right now, and whenever he's on camera, he's always wearing a hoodie, looking like he should be on a fucking Scottish street corner begging, for a fucking script or something. People talk about this shit. I know. I've been a victim of it for years. Like, has he got fatter? Has he got balder? Is he drunker than usual? Like,
Okay.
people in esports talk about your professional perceptions, and I honestly think there's a perception like, does James still care about Dota like he used to? And interestingly enough, he did an interview with one of the ladies from Curse, where he said it would be his last time as a host. And he actually said in that interview that he felt hosting was actually really boring this time around. Now, whether that's the reality or it's just something to say in the heat of the moment, whether he's had a bad time, I don't know. But I definitely think he could take or leave it at that particular moment.
So,
I don't think he was as
I have
into it as he
I have a
was
point
last
to
year.
make about that actually transitions well into another topic. I think he's at his best at something like Dream League, where they're just kind of in their own studio. They're joking around. He can make
yeah.
really weird off-color jokes. You make those jokes about people's dead moms and stuff. He's really great at that when he's just
Yeah.
kind of messing around, just kind of having fun, and it's very, I guess I would say maybe unpolished. But
Yeah.
the problem with TI is they had this big push for the ESPN stuff, and it made the panel really sterile. It was very like just sort of straight-laced. People weren't really joking. They were just kind of saying generic things. There was no
Well, I think they should have cast it differently
not
if they
not
had.
a ton of flavor.
Yeah.
Right, and he personally is not super good in that environment. He's okay, but that's not really where he shines. And so I think that the ESPN thing sort of, I think a lot of people at the event even thought the panel was just too straight-laced. It kind of sucked the fun out of it. And I think that's sort of a symptom of that.
I agree with
said
that.
that it was a little stale. But again, obviously, I didn't watch it. I couldn't judge. I said when we were on Unfiltered and doing a summary of the international last time, I said the best thing about it was the panel. It was the only thing that really made me get through it. And I said James was the best thing about the best thing. Like, he was the guy that really held it together on the first couple of days, where I think people were still trying to come out of their shells and find a rhythm and find the tempo, and James was really the glue that made it work. So I don't know, dude. Maybe, I mean, it's not wrong to speculate, but it's definitely wrong to speak on his behalf. I'm sure if he was listening to this, he'd just come on and tell us straight. James is a man of many talents, and a man who's got many things he still wants to achieve.
Yeah.
So I'm sure Dota 2 and indeed esports isn't the be all and end all. But it is kind of weird. This isn't the James I'm used to anyway. This isn't the James I've known all
Yeah,
these
it's not.
years.
But did you guys watch the ESPN2 stuff? That was like 30 minutes. It was like so.
I saw a
quick.
little bit of it. I didn't see the
yeah,
whole
the
thing.
special, right?
Yeah, I mean,
I heard some not so good things about it.
it was mostly pre-recorded stuff, and
Yeah.
I think they made predictions at the end. James was pretty much talking the entire time whenever it was whatever live or whatever it was. But yeah, I mean, it was only 30 minutes. I thought James did fine during that.
I thought he did the voiceovers for all of those team profiles they had.
Yeah.
You know, where they show like the 5-minute clip of how they got there and what their dreams were and stuff. He did
Yeah.
the voiceovers on those, and I thought he was great.
Yeah.
He was perfect for that.
Yeah, so the actual ESPN stuff actually seemed to work out okay for it. Again, it was like super short, so people making a huge deal of it. It wasn't that big a deal. What did you guys think of Casey this time around? You know, last time Casey was, you know, she had this very endearing factor to her because she didn't know Dota. You know, you were actually seeing somebody for the first time, experiencing it and being captivated by the whole thing, right? And it was kind of cool. It was great seeing the person doing interviews and being able to relate to her, and I guess to some extent. So, how do you think Casey did this time around?
I always like Casey. I think she's great. I think she does a lot of things that not a lot of hosts could do in that spot. Because, you know, she goes in the crowd and she talks with people who are like sort of only want to talk to her and they're kind of weird. And she does a really good job of just like getting energy out of them, which I think extremely few people in esports can do. So I think getting someone outside of there is really nice.
All right, looks like Richard wants me to show this. On stream.
Also, her
Oh no,
interview with
that
Topic
this
was
is
really
for a
funny.
separate topic. This is for a
separate
separate topic.
Okay,
So it's still about the international, but we can bring it up. All I was gonna say is, you know, I don't want to praise Casey at all because she's affiliated with Fox News. So,
Fair.
Okay.
you know, man's got to have a code, right?
Mm-hmm.
So fuck her and the horrible, shitty news corporation that she works for.
Wow.
All right.
Who owns the Daily Dot? Uh-oh.
Well, when we get bought by Murdoch, then you can call me an asshole.
You think he owns it in a roundabout way? I don't know who actually does who owns the
Maybe he
Daily Dot.
does.
Who's like, I mean,
I
They're
don't
based
know.
in
I don't know,
Austin.
but
I didn't even know they were based in
a bunch of
Austin.
times.
Yep.
did we just kill another career on Unfiltered?
Maybe.
Oh my god.
Give a
oh my
fuck.
god.
I'll be
But-
all right.
You want to move on to this image?
I've got
Yeah,
my
you wanna talk about
sponsored
this image, right?
podcast coming up, so that'll be fine.
Are you-
Audio only, £50 a show. I'll live off that. Fuck you guys.
Yeah,
yeah,
we're,
no,
we're
I-
talking about ESPN too, right? So we're,
This is
Yeah.
completely
So there was
expected.
a bunch
No one
of
should be
interesting
surprised by this.
reactions, and someone compiled them into a screenshot, which did the rounds on social media, which is awesome. And just pick them out, dude. Like, if you can bring it up on screen, even better.
yeah,
so people
I've
can see
already
what we're
brought it on
talking about.
screen, so people can.
Yeah, good. So what are they showing on ESPN2? That's not a sport, lol. Why is there a video game tournament on ESPN2? What the fuck is on ESPN2 right now? Are we serious? A MOBA championship on ESPN2? Saddest part of all this, ESPN2 just got finished showing a terrific documentary on Bo Jackson, and
They
now
did.
they're playing video games.
That's my favorite one.
Yeah.
The Bo
Yeah,
Jackson guy.
I thought you might
I watched that on a
appreciate
plane
one.
actually. Yeah. That Bo Jackson one.
So I mean, I think it's interesting. I think that isn't necessarily representative. I was
definitely.
like,
Dude, they're
1 hour.
handpicked, man. Look at
No,
this.
No, let's
Yeah,
be
listen,
real. Come on,
Steven,
let's
Steven,
be real.
Steven. Right, well done. You be real. I'll correct you in a moment.
For what it's worth, there's a very similar image of fans doing the same thing about the World Cup being on ESPN.
Really?
Yeah.
Oh yes,
God.
I linked
You
it.
should hear how much. Do you have any idea the fucking blowback when they had fucking poker on ESPN? How many people were fucking raged as fuck at that? Oh, poker's not even a fucking sport. Why the fuck? Like a lot of the people that watch
that.
ESPN are literally there for like football, basketball, and like that's it. Maybe
And
baseball.
here you go. I've got that image just in case you.
Yeah, I'm looking at
hadn't
the World
seen
Cup
it.
there.
Okay, there you go. There's the World Cup one there.
That's.
You know,
Yeah,
so
so anyway,
soccer. I mean, no. The best comment there is, I consider an act of terrorism every time a soccer play is #1 on ESPN top 10. So, I mean, look. So
What?
here's the thing. These are all handpicked comments that
Yeah.
are designed to elicit a response. The numbers were great. I was 1 hour from breaking this story, and if I hadn't been on a train going to the Lake District, I'd have got the leak on it. A source very close to ESPN that I know, from my time as being a sports writer, hit me up out of the blue and basically told me what was going on. If I'd got the message an hour earlier, I would have broke it. But since then, we've talked some more. He says ESPN are absolutely delighted with the way it's been received. They've been delighted with the viewing
wow.
numbers. And I'm currently putting together an article based on the information we've exchanged to basically they said they're going to double down. There'll be more esports coverage coming out of ESPN, and you'll be able to get the exclusive about that on Daily Dot because I got a pretty good hookup. So yeah, so ESPN is super happy with the way everything went, and this was all done at the last minute, but they couldn't be happier with it. So take those comments